point do you become concerned about the lack of reps for Russ in the first team offense?
I'm not.
Well guys, it's that time of year and the Pittsburgh Steelers just played their first preseason game of the year. Say what you want, but it's always just a super exciting time when football is back on the field. And this was a game that had more quote-unquote anticipation to it than many other week 1 preseason games because we would be seeing Justin Fields behind center for a couple of series. And man, I love what I saw. I'm just gonna say what has to be said before I get into the nitty-gritty of this video. I know it's the preseason, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but Fields really did make a couple of plays that stood out to me. And I don't think it's a stretch to say he will be the starting quarterback by the second half of the season, and many want that to be the case right now. In this video, I'm going to break down everything I saw from the Steelers in this game, both positive and negative, and also any recent news regarding training camp and everything else. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We're on the road to 40k subscribers, and with your support, I believe we can get there super fast. Alright, so first off, let's start with some of Justin Fields' highlights from the game. The first play right here was a basic screen to Najee Harris to kind of break open the defense for a big gain. I think the Steelers' backfield is going to be used heavily this year with the new young offensive line that seems to have a strong suit in run blocking. Next up, Justin Fields made a nice easy throw outside to George Pickens on the money, and he broke an arm tackle to get past the sticks. I know there are so many Brandon Aiyuk rumors for obvious reasons, but I think Pickens could hold down the fort himself and have a fantastic season. Next up, Fields threw a basic check down underneath route to the tight end Pat Freiermuth for a 5-yard gain. And then immediately after, he took off after a play action concept drawn up by Arthur for a few yards, and we all know in a real game, he may have made an effort to get a little closer to the sticks. And then he was able to step up in the pocket and throw a beauty to George Pickens. It seems like this might be a common connection in the 2024 season. Moving on, here's what some of the media and Steelers coaching staff had to say about what's been going on with the QB battle between Fields and Wilson.
And becomes the starter week 1.
No, Greeny, I would not be shocked. Number one, Justin Fields is here for a reason. I understand his time in Chicago, a lot of ups and downs. Still, he has a lot of questions to answer. But as Mike Tomlin said, he has escapability and mobility and the athleticism. All of that is a weapon. It is hard to see that sit on the bench and at some point not have that in your starting quarterback.
Justin's going to play, and Russell is not. And this is going to be an interesting opportunity. I want to play you some of Mike Tomlin yesterday. Yes. Mostly because we just love the way he says words, but also because I think he's sending a message when he was asked about his quarterback situation. Listen.
Would you still categorize this as a quarterback competition? If it is, how do you weight what happens on the practice field here versus what happens in a stadium?
Very much is a competition. What happens in stadium is weighted heavier than what happens in a practice setting because it's more game-like.
Do you still view Russell as having that pole position and being ahead of Justin in that?
You guys saw the depth chart that I released yesterday. That is real.
One thing from this game that was also pretty cool was hearing Arthur Mooney in the booth. He kind of kept his mouth shut and wasn't spilling the beans on anything football-wise, but he was talking about how good of a camp it's been, and he talked about how the Steelers are due for an overseas game in Ireland or Mexico. But he specifically talked about the fan base over in Ireland and how fun it would be to get back there. Because the one time they did play, it was only a preseason game, and that one alone had a ton of energy to it. Talking more about the actual game that just happened, the Steelers struggled early on taking care of the ball. From just the 10 minutes I watched, I saw Justin Fields nearly lose one off a bad snap, and then they muffed a punt return. I know this is unacceptable for the coaching staff, and specifically Mike Tomlin, and I think it's something that is going to be addressed right away. Doing the little things and controlling what you can is what the Steelers are built around, and it's why they have been so successful over the last 2 decades. So overall, I know this wasn't the best game for the Steelers, but there were some positives when the starters were on the field. I know Joey Porter Jr. got flagged defensively, and there were a few other things not to like, but again, football is back, and that's really all that matters, because we all know the coaches will go over the mistakes, and there were definitely a lot of them once Kyle Allen was under center. I mean, that one throw on 4th down to the back of the end zone was brutal. But yeah, I expect to see Russell Wilson get a few snaps next week, and with that being said, let's move on to training camp. As I mentioned, the announcers were talking about how great of a camp it's been so far. People have been showing up, and there's been great competition among all units on the field. So let's talk about some of the standout performers, and some of this is from articles that I read, but Justin Fields, who joined the Steelers this offseason, has been making waves at camp. He's shown off his athleticism with some impressive long runs and laser sharp throws down the sidelines and across the middle. However, he has struggled with holding onto the ball too long and some accuracy issues, and we saw that back in Chicago. So that's the area that the coaching staff is mainly trying to focus on improving. Another player to keep an eye on is linebacker Landon Roberts, who has been training hard and showing his skills at St. Vincent College. His efforts in practice have not gone unnoticed, and he is expected to be a key player in the Steelers' defensive lineup. And one of the biggest positives from camp has been the team's overall energy and competitiveness. The players are pushing themselves to the limit, which is exactly what you want to see as they prepare for the season. The offensive line in particular has shown a strong desire to protect their quarterbacks. Which is crucial given Russell Wilson's current injury situation. Additionally, the coaching staff led by new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith has been emphasizing accuracy and timing for the QBs, which should pay dividends as the season progresses. Fields' ability to take deep shots and be aggressive with his pass attempts is something the team is looking to capitalize on. On the flip side, there have been a few negatives. The most notable incident was a fight that broke out during practice, which, while not uncommon in the high-stakes environment of training camp, is something the team needs to manage carefully. These altercations can lead to penalties and injuries if they occur during actual games, so it's an area that requires some attention at the very least. But anyways, the inconsistency in Fields' play highlights the challenges of adapting to a new system and the need for continued development. It's a reminder that while there is potential, there's also a lot of work to be done to ensure the team is firing on all cylinders come the regular season. So overall, the Steelers training camp has been a mix of promising developments and areas for improvement. As we move closer to the start of the season, it will be exciting to see how these dynamics play out on the field. So stay tuned for more updates, and let's hope for a great season ahead. That's really all I have to say for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly does mean the world. Also, let me know what you would like to see next, and how you are feeling about the Steelers as we get closer and closer to week 1. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I will see you all later.
What we are not sure of is what team Brandon Aiyuk will be playing on 28 days from now. This past Tuesday, our very own Adam Schefter reported the Patriots are no longer in the Aiyuk sweepstakes. Yesterday, Andrew Hawkins on this show made very clear just how important he thinks Aiyuk is, not just to the 49ers in general, but to Brock Purdy in particular. Listen.